Welcome. In this video, I'll introduce you to the basics of navigating and viewing a timeline in TimeStory for Mac. Note that I've made a separate video for the iPad edition of TimeStory. There's a link in the notes below this video. Let's get started. You can freely scroll around in time. Your timeline's height is determined by the events and sections it contains, but it has no fixed start or end date. You can always move horizontally to any date, even if there aren't any events there yet. Use common Mac gestures and shortcuts to get around. On a trackpad, swipe with 2 fingers. On a mouse, rotate the scroll wheel, holding the Shift key to move horizontally instead of vertically. Or, press and hold the space bar to turn the pointer into a hand, with which you can grab the timeline and pan around. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard too, but note that if you have an event or something else selected, the arrow keys will move it instead of scrolling. There's also an optional time scroller control here at the bottom of the screen, with buttons to move forward or backward in different increments. You can hide this if you prefer not to use it. Now let's talk about skipping around to specific dates or events in the timeline. In your toolbar, you'll find buttons to scroll directly to the first or last event and to step through them one by one. These options can also be found in the Events menu, and all have keyboard shortcuts. Under the View menu, you'll find Go to Date, which can also be accessed by typing G. Here, you can type a full date or just a year and scroll directly there. TimeStory will use the system settings of your Mac to recognize your language and date formats. Finally, to see today's date, click the Today button. This will scroll today's date into view, turning on or off a highlight line. You can configure the color and style of this highlight in the inspector. Till now, I've kept the same time scale. The time scale determines how wide each time unit is on screen, and in turn, how many time units fit in the window. TimeStory lets you freely adjust the time scale to get a better look at your events. If you're using a trackpad, use a 2-finger pinch gesture to smoothly scale up and down. If you're using a mouse, do the same thing by pressing and holding the Command key and using your scroll wheel. You can also use these toolbar buttons, View menu items, or their corresponding keyboard shortcuts to quickly step through timescales. Finally, let's talk about zooming in or out on the whole document. Zooming magnifies everything: shapes, text, images, and more. Use the slider on the toolbar or choose one of the preset zoom levels. You'll also find menu items and keyboard shortcuts in the View menu. And those are the basics. Using these tools, you can get around any timeline quickly, whether you're just viewing it or whether you're placing or editing events in time. Thanks for watching.